What happens when you die? The average man will say nobody knows. It's a myth, it's a history. But it's because you've not been paying attention. I have. And there are 4 different philosophies we are going to explore today. One of them is traditional religion or Igbo spirituality in particular, what they believe happens to you when you die. There's also Christianity, there's the simulation theory. But the most interesting one is this man they call John Burke. He didn't go to hell or he didn't die and come back. But what he did is that he studied 1,500 people that have had near-death experiences. They were clinically dead actually. They were pronounced dead by a doctor, but they came back to life. And then what they saw in that period when they were dead, 1,500 people. A while back, I went for an audition in Lekki and I was coming back with a boat. And this boat guy was Igbo. And at some point, he was playing certain Igbo songs and traditional songs. And I said, Igbo. I told him. He said, yeah, he's an Igbo guy. And he said, me too. So we're talking about different topics. There's even a video of me and him on my Instagram, Goodliving Podcast Instagram actually, where we talk about like his experience as a boat driver and not the spiritual stuff. But we got to the spiritual stuff eventually when I asked him, why does he like stuff of music? And he says, do you know this person playing? I said, no, I don't know this person. He said, okay, but you know Osadebe? I said, yes. He mentioned Oliver the Cook? I said, yes. He said, so this thing that these people are saying now is spiritual, it's giving him something. And then we got to talk about religion. One of my greatest curiosities was what happens after we die. And I asked him, so according to the Igbo traditional religion, what do you believe happens after we die? And then he told me, well, there's a spirit realm and then there's this physical realm. And this physical realm is like a playground for the spirit realm. The spirit realm is where the real life is. And this place is where we come to just, do something, achieve something. Say you're playing a game, you're playing Grand Theft, and you want to finish one particular level in Grand Theft. You cannot finish it in real life, but you have to boot up your PS5 and open Grand Theft and play the game to do that. So that's kind of like how Earth is to the spirit realm. And so he believes that there is reincarnation. We all exist in the spirit at first. And if you choose that you want to come and play this game, then you get born into the world. But then you trade your consciousness. And so you don't remember anything from beyond, but you start life afresh here. And so when you die, you go back there. And the thing is that you have life there, you have friends, you have things that exist. And so when you go back there, there's always no reason for you to come back because that one feels more real than this one because this is just a game. There are certain key things that I took away from there. He says, in the spirit realm, there are ranks. There's a hierarchy of things, and that hierarchy is set as a result of how many people have been successful on earth. In the sense that before you come, there is a certain desire of things that you want to do when you come to the world. Some people want to come and make a lot of money as much as possible. Some people want to come and have plenty of children. And so you have this preset desire, and when you come, your life keeps driving you to achieve these things. And that's what you call purpose. Your life keeps driving you to achieve these things, even if you don't remember that is what you set. But it keeps. Anyway, as a result, you achieve, if you come to this earth and you do all those things and then you die at a time that you're comfortable with, your rank increases and you become a chief or whatever in the spirit realm. That is what happens. And so when you die, you get welcomed by your people, your friends, the chiefs in the spirit realm. If you've gone up a level, you get awarded with that hierarchy. If you've gone down a level, and let me tell you how you go down a level. If you come to this world and you live a life where you commit certain sins, 3 particular ones he mentioned. 1, you sleep with somebody's wife, or as a woman, you sleep with somebody's husband. Secondly, if you cheat somebody in business, you do wrong to somebody, especially the ones that I don't even know about, but you cheat somebody in business. And then thirdly, you spill blood. These 3 things demote you. And if you die without repenting completely from these 3 sins or doing some form of restitution, you suffer in the spirit realm. And the suffering is restrictions. In the spirit realm, you are free to roam. You have certain powers. There is no transport. You don't have to walk from here to here. Because in the spirit realm, you exist in energies. And so since you don't have to walk from here to here, you are free to move from place to place in an instant. But in the spirit realm, when you are demoted, you have certain restrictions. And then those restrictions exist in your lineage on earth. Whoever you live on earth, they suffer the consequences of the life you lived because you are serving punishment in the spirit realm. And so you see some generations where in their family or in their village, they don't ever go to school, or they don't break out from a certain level financially, or there's this sickness that is always hunting them down, or they die young at a certain age. And that is because somebody is suffering in the spirit realm. And because in the spirit realm there is no time, what happens is you are suffering, and to you it's like 5 minutes in the spirit realm, but generations are suffering the same fate. And then once that restitution is over, because according to him, in the spirit realm there, when you're suffering that punishment, it's not forever. Eventually you get released, and then you can come back and say you want to do this life thing again. Or, you can just decide to be there. But once you're forgiven, you come back. Once you're forgiven, your lineage gets healed. Maybe somebody will be born that is going to just come and change the trajectory of the whole generation, and then things become good from there. And that is what he believes. The next one we believe is Christianity. Christianity own is pretty straightforward, although there's something I need help with in the comments. The Bible says that the dead know nothing. The Bible says that. And then they say after death is judgment. Now, I'm trying to put these two things together and see how they make sense. But somebody who is a Bible student can help me understand how these two things don't contradict each other, because they do contradict each other to me. Now, Christianity believes that once you die, you either are judged or you just don't know anything and you're waiting for the judgment day. And then eternity happens after death, which means after you die, what happens is that you either go to heaven or you go to hell. Heaven being the place where God is, your creator is, and then you enjoy this fellowship with him, and everything is positive, everything is smooth, nice, clean, and streets of gold, now, the whole shebang. And then there is hellfire, where if you live a bad life, you cheat. But in this case now, it's not the 3 sins of the Igbo spirituality. This one is different because there are a lot more commandments. You have to be, you have to not commit fornication. My guy, not my guy, the bus driver told me specifically that fornication is not a sin when it comes to Igbo spirituality. You can fornicate, all those things that you do. They're not partying, drinking, even drugs. It's all you. It's not going to affect your afterlife. It's not going to affect your afterlife. But according to Christianity, breaking the rules of the community that you find yourself within can land you in hell. And so when you break all these rules and you die, you go to hellfire, and hellfire is a place of eternal damnation. And so according to Christianity, there is no restitution after death. Once you die, you are bound to one of 2 places, heaven or hell, where you suffer forever. That's what Christianity believes. I would have added Islam, honestly. I would have added Islam, just that I don't know much about what they believe. I think it's pretty similar because Jannah is heaven, according to Islam. And then there's a certain way you live your life as a Muslim man. You get awarded virgins. And sometimes I try to wrap my head around how that scenario would be. Like, do you appear and then you get to live with them as your wives? Or it's kind of like heaven, but in this case, you get to have sex. Because in heaven, they say there's no sex and there's no marriage. But in Jannah, they say 7 virgins. Actually, they don't say what you do with those 7 virgins. But I mean, why are they emphasizing on them being virgins if it's not the purity and the... It's not my business, actually. It's none of my business. This is the part that I've been wanting to get to. John Burke is an author. He wrote a book about his study of over 1,500 people that had died and come back to life, who were pronounced dead. And all of their stories have some things in common. But here is one similarity. The first similarity is this. They always leave their physical body. Their consciousness is conscious enough while it leaves their physical body. And they are able to see the things that surround their physical body. So the ones who died in the hospital, they see their friends and well-wishers, they see the doctors trying to revive them, they see everything. But they see it from a vantage point. It's kind of like they go up, they levitate. And then as they see it, they kind of levitate beyond the roof of the ceiling. In fact, in one person's case, right, she went beyond the roof and she could see behind the fan some kind of dent. And they were doubting her when she came back and was telling the story of what she saw and how she went. And she said, look, beyond that fan, there's a dent. I've never been there. I was brought in here unconscious. And he said, okay. And then they saw that dent, according to John Burke's book. And so this is a similar thing across almost everybody in his stories. They leave their physical body and they levitate upwards. Another thing that they all see is a light. There's a light that they see that kind of looks like a portal. All of them see these lights. Some people go down, some people go up into the light. But I'm going to tell you the story of the people who go up into the light. People who follow the light or who are taken towards the light see somebody. In some cases, they see people. When it's people, it's kind of like a host of angels. So it's either a host of angels, or people that they've known before, people who have died that they've known before. So you see your friends, your family, even people who died as infants. If you were 8 years old and you lost a friend when you were 8 or 7 years old, you see that friend. But the thing is, they see all those people in their prime. So if your grandpa died at 94, like mine did at 94, you never saw him young. But if he's among the welcome party, you see him in his prime and you recognize that it's him somehow. So even the baby that died, even the toddler that died, even the old man, and even the people that were in their prime when they died, all of them happen to be the same age, around 25 to 35, around the same age in their prime when you see them in that welcome party. Sometimes some people say they saw like literal a person that they didn't recognize before that could be Jesus or whoever. This is the point where I need to mention that John Burke is actually a Christian, right? Because a lot of the things he said corroborated with Christianity and things like that. In one of the cases, he talked about this surgeon. This man, he was a surgeon, he was pretty successful in life, and he had an accident where he was kind of disemboweled, and they were trying to save his life, but he couldn't, and so he was pronounced dead. And in his case, he was dead for hours.
Starts off in a hellish experience as well. Again, he cries out to God for forgiveness. He said, I was repenting. That's the word he used with me. Then these two angels that he said were angels from the Bible, which really confused him, take him through this tunnel-like, portal-like, to this place of exquisite beauty in the presence of this God of light who is love.
That light came. And then at the same time, he got a life review, which is kind of like what we say, your life flashed before your eyes. You see your life all the way. And in that realm, he made mention, all these people have the same story. They say there is no time. Like that life review hits you in an instant and you get all the information. On earth, the only way we can interpret that is like a tape played to you and you're watching it through time. You cannot focus on two movies at the same time and watch them effectively. But in this case, he could get the whole information of how his life is and how he's treated people and everything that he's done, from his school days to his professional days. And then here's something interesting that happens as well.
The life review changes them because they realize that every little act of kindness matters. It counts, and they see how it affected that other person, and not only that other person, but many times God shows them the ripple effect, life to life to life.
So it's not just your life, it is the effect of the actions that you take in the life. It is very, very encompassing of everything. They come back and they say that the human language is not developed enough to explain the feeling.
Imagine getting pressed back in, resuscitated in two dimensions, and trying to describe a three-dimensional experience with colors, but you're having to use two-dimensional black and white terms to do it.
Yeah.
And they've said to me that's exactly what it's like. It's so hard to find the words to adequately describe. And that's why they say things like it was more real and I was more alive.
There was somebody who also had his own death experience where by the time he was done, it was so short. There is no time, like you said. I don't know, man. This there is no time thing is so spooky to me that I cannot imagine a realm without time. How is there no now and then later? How does that even exist? One thing they all say in common is that it is realer than earth. Even the Bible says that the realm after this is more real. So it is so real to them that they don't even miss what is happening on earth. It's like I gave the example of GTA. If you're playing a game, as sweet as that game is, when you come back to your real life, you rather eat food in your real life than to eat the food in GTA. In GTA, you can have sex. The sex in GTA isn't comparable to the sex in real life. So I think that is why people don't come back from the dead. You wish that they do. Even while you're on earth, you wish that, I would like to come back to my loved ones. But then there is something realer outside, according to John Burke and the people that he has done his studies with. Something else that is more interesting, and that is the next philosophy, is the simulation theory. The simulation theory basically belongs to the scientists' school of thought of people who really don't believe in God, even though a lot of them do. Now, people who believe we are in a simulation, who have at least guessed it or have a hypothesis, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson has this philosophy that we might be in a simulation, and if we are,
Here's the argument. Ready?
Go ahead.
Our computing power is growing rapidly.
Right.
We create simulations of worlds. We have video games with characters that are inside the video game.
Right.
Imagine a day where you can simulate a world so perfectly with life forms, humans, so well that you can recreate every single neurosynaptic thought you could have, but now you're in the simulation on the computer.
give them, rules and parameters, but then give them a certain level of free will. And those rules could be what we now see as the laws of physics, right? Give them box in their world, box them into a certain world and watch them. And if that's possible in our realm, it means that those people as well can get so sophisticated. We can make their time 100 times X our own, so fast. I mean, to them it's not that fast, but to us it's happening so fast, right? That we can watch them go through 5,000 generations in 5 minutes. But to them, it's real time. And so, if they can do that, they might develop their own computer where they watch their stuff as well, where they watch their own mini them. And if that happens down the line continuously, who is to say that we are the first ones? Who is to say that somebody did not program us and then we are just one along the line? Because it is infinite. The amount of simulations that can happen is infinite. So the chances that we are the originals is one in eternity. There's an episode of Black Mirror where that kind of thing is possible. USS Callister, if you've seen Black Mirror, where he was cloning them and putting them in this universe. And the guy could create universes and take DNA from real human beings in the real world and clone them and put them in that universe. The people in that universe will be sentient. They believe that they are the real them, but they are limited to the universe that guy created for them. And then there's this other one that I got from Love, Death and Robots. It's also on Netflix, like Black Mirror. Love, Death and Robots, there's this episode where there's this guy, he's a space trooper, and then him and his team wake up in this tube, in this spaceship, in a tube. This tube where it's filled with smoke, it just opens, and then smoke will come out and they'll wake up, like, how they used to freeze people's bodies for time, things like that. And then they woke up and then they were now met by this lady that he knew from way back. They were lovers before or something like that. He was in this realm with her. And then down the line in that episode, he fell in love with her. They were having sex, they were living life in that place. But the thing is, in the episode, that thing repeats over and over. And so the guy himself started to wonder, this thing is familiar. Started to ask questions. And then it became clear to him that this is a simulation. And then he jacked the lady and was like, what's going on here? This is not real.
I don't think you're ready for the answer.
Let me be the judge of that.
And then when she showed him the real thing, what she is not a human being. She's an alien. He is his real self, but she's an alien that saw him. Terrible, spooky episode. But that is another simulation of what it may be. Back on topic, what happens after we die? So, if you die, you get returned back to the original, to that main essence of yourself. Now, I don't know which of them is true, to be honest. I'm just going to live my life to the best of my ability. But there are some things I deduced from listening to all these perspectives. One is that there is a soul, which means you are not you. And I figured this out since by knowing that you cannot say anything is you yourself. Everything is yours. My brain, my eye, myself, my this, my that. What is you exactly is your soul, is your consciousness. So these are two separate entities. And when you die, that soul gets separated from your body and it goes somewhere. It does something. Secondly, there's a different realm from this one. A different realm from this one in the sense that there is somewhere else that soul exists in and it's normal for that soul to exist in. And that is the realm that is home to the soul. And who knows what it's like or whether the punishment for how you live your life here affect what your life would be in that realm. That's something I don't know and have not reached a conclusion on. But one thing that I've deduced as well is that there is a controller. It could be a god, it could be a programmer, it could be whatever, but there's an entity that created this realm and that watches it, or at least has some interest in it. Who knows? They're just watching us on pay-per-view or something. And then finally, love is an emotion that transcends. And I'm taking this one specifically from that John Burke's book. Love is an emotion that transcends this realm. Every other thing could stay here, right? Ego, whatever, it could be here. Ego, pride, jealousy, it could all be here. But then love transcends this realm. And that is why I think the Bible says love is the greatest commandment. Like whatever you do, love your neighbor as yourself, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you, and things like that. There's a theory that believes that we are all one consciousness. So if you treat your neighbor like yourself, perhaps you are just doing it to yourself. I think the Bible even says it like that, but there's a way. Our human minds cannot understand it. But that's what I believe. This is the Good Living Podcast. Remember to live, learn, and execute. Leave a like on the video. Bye-bye.